4, we'll call the finance meeting to order.
Oh, sorry.
Approval of the minutes for September 19th, 2024, October 4th, 2024, and October 10th, 2024. Anybody have any questions on those?
I did put copies of them in your, running of it too, in case, since there were so many of them, I just emailed them.
Motion to approve the minutes by Mr. Anderson, there a second? I'll second. Any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Limited 3 minutes per person with a maximum public comment of 30 minutes on agenda items only. Public comment. Public comment. Public comment. None being heard. Public comment is closed. Discussion of possible motions. Alright, is it okay with everybody? We're gonna be kind of bouncing through this list, not in order. Is everybody okay with that? Jim? You good with that?
I'm fine.
Gary?
We have to cover it all, it doesn't matter, does it?
Right, are you good with, we're gonna be kind of bouncing around in this agenda?
okay.
Are you good with that?
Said that's okay.
Okay.
I said okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I'm way up here now. So. Start with the first one, I guess, approval of transfer remaining food-wise funds to Rusk County Farmers Market.
Sean is not here. I'll
Or
send
is that it? Or do we wanna start with Ashley? Ashley,
Number 2, okay. So number 2 on your agendas is approve highway worker 1 to highway worker 2 wage increase. So, currently on our wage scale, we have a highway worker 1 and a highway worker 2 position. The only differences between the highway worker 1 and the highway worker 2 is that there's 3 years of experience is what it says as a highway worker 2. Past practice has been when a highway worker 1 achieved 3 years of service, they would automatically get a $1 increase and have a title change to highway worker 2. So I did go through the highway committee, the personnel committee, all of that after multiple discussions of how we're kind of going to proceed with this. Are we going to try to roll it into just one highway worker? Are we going to keep it as is? It was the consensus of those committees that for now we are going to keep it as a highway worker 1 and a highway worker 2. So due to these past practices, what the personnel committee has made the motion for and highway committee made the motion for is that highway worker 1s will move to highway worker 2s once they attain 3 years of service, and then they will be placed at the step that provides them that $1 increase. So that would be, that would have to be retro back because right now we have 2 employees at highway that hit their 3 years in September. So that would be retroed back to, September 1st of 2024. So we have 2 of them in September and our next ones are coming up in, not until May and July or something of next year of 2025.
what's the dollar amount?
It would be, I mean, for next year it'd be what, $4,200, cause it'd be $1 an hour. For the rest of this year,
What step is it again, can you remind me?
they'd be placed at the step that gives them a wage increase of $1 per hour.
So we're probably about 1,500 for this year with benefits. Looking at 5,000-ish next year with the fringe on.
That should have been built into the 25 budget, though, correct?
No, I don't think so.
their wages are split through their budget based on like the function and not so much like the, like my budget has wage lines, wage and benefits, but in highway, it's based on what function they're doing. So if they're doing road maintenance, then it would get charged there. If they're doing, snow plowing, get charged there, but that's kind of fluid because of, depends on snow events that we, how many overtime hours we have and.
Right, but I mean, we still have to build into
I
a
mean,
budget.
Technically, it's been their
employees'
past budget,
wages.
so it should, be kind of built into their budget, because this is how they've been doing it.
Yeah.
I would hope so, yeah.
And I did write this as a resolution, so we don't have to keep doing this with every employee until we, maybe down the road, we will determine, like highway will take another stab at combining it into just one classification and not having that highway worker 1 and 2, or making, different standards, but until we get that, the way I have the resolution written is that going forward, any highway worker 1s, after they attain 3 years of service, would go to a highway worker 2, get that wage increase of $1, so we don't have to always come back here with these specific employees, to get that increase. So that's why I wrote it that way, and then retroacted it to September 1st of 2024, which would include those 2 employees that hit that.
Anybody else have any questions? Anybody, good with this? Any questions on this?
I'll make the motion to go ahead with the highway worker 1, highway 2, worker 2.
Motion by Mr. Meyer. For a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whiteway. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Ashley?
Please keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3 is approve amendment to ad hoc interviewing committee ordinance. So if you guys will recall, I think it was a couple months ago, I wasn't in that meeting, or maybe it was only a month ago, when you guys had the finance committee meeting, where finance had recommended that we abolish the ad hoc interviewing committee to help save some of those stipends that we pay, the board members for coming in. So I did write a resolution. I would like to amend it, not abolish it, because I strongly feel that the board members should be in place of hiring those other appointed officials, because the appointed officials, like the department heads, they report directly to the board, so I feel that the boards should still be involved in those interviews. So
I didn't,
no, it would be in the, if you look in the personnel packet from the last personnel meeting, it would be in there.
Is there any chance if you have that on a finance committee meeting that you can make sure it gets in our packet so we can review it ahead of time?
I can try this weekend. I literally finished my stuff at 2 o'clock today, so.
What we can do is maybe.
It's not gonna last minute changes.
Yeah. What we have in here is, it used to say that it shall consist of up to 5 members and all of that, so that stuff is crossed off. The only place that it would be in for the ad hoc committee is, it would just be in place for the hiring of appointed officials, as is outlined in our ordinance. So the appointed officials are the ones that, most of them are department heads. I think the public health officer is also an appointed official, and there may be a few other ones. That's, veteran service officers, but those are the ones. So in that case, it will consist of 1 member from personnel, 1 member from the oversight committee, the board chair or their designee, and then the administrative coordinator and the human resources manager. So those 5 people would be on the ad hoc interviewing committee for those department heads. And then the committee would forward the recommended candidate to the full board for appointment, just like we currently do. So essentially what you would be changing is there would be no more ad hoc interview committees for, any staff except for those appointed officials.
You're simplifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, in every interview committee that I've been into, the department heads, or the board members, while we appreciate their input and their value of being there, have always, every single one that I've done, they've always looked at the department head and said, you're the one that ultimately has to work with them, so you're the one that would make that, just ultimately, we're comfortable with you making that decision.
bring this one back next month, so we get time to review?
I'll let you review it right now, it's really simple.
But the old one was very similar. That one was updated less than 2 years ago, I think. Current practice.
Yes, because we didn't have HR and resources manager yet.
And this,
I think that one was worded though, HR and or coordinator, and it was,
yep, and this one, I just took out the and or and put and, because then we have 5. So it'd be the personnel chair, the board chair, the oversight chair, HR, and admin coordinator, so you have that odd number.
so you have both right now.
Yes. For,
So what happens if one is missing?
we have both right now for the appointed officials. Well, that would compromise, or that would compose of your committees. If you had one missing, if you still had a quorum, I would think you could still move forward with if one did show up. Cause those would be just like any other, committee that we have. And again, finance was the one that forwarded to personnel to do this, so personnel approved it, so we were just bringing it. We had it on the board agenda for next week. Rich, recommended that we have it back to finance just to approve before we go to the board on Tuesday.
Board chair's always been on these committees.
Just
Or are you
for,
talking about the committee board chair?
no, the board chair is just for appointed officials.
Oh,
Yeah, appointed.
but then this doesn't change for non-appointed.
It's all crossed off on the top. So the only thing we'd be having the ad hoc interview committee for is for appointed officials. Otherwise, we do it internally with HR and the department head. I would be the ones that would do the interviewing for staff.
Do you have that procedure here as well?
That, I don't think that would, with all due respect, I don't know that that's a finance. That was passed out personnel last week.
Okay. I guess enough this is all personnel.
I mean,
If this affects the other one, I just wanna.
yeah, so Rich had just said since.
This affects how you do interviews now, right?
So Rich had said, since finance was the one that told personnel to change it, because I think the whole reason behind it was to save those dollars in the budget.
Great, and I'm not
So-
against it, I just.
No, I know, I
see the
just,
whole picture.
cause to be honest, I wasn't originally gonna take it back to finance, I was just gonna take it to the full board, cause it doesn't have well, I guess it would have a negative financial impact, or positive, would you call that a positive financial impact? I don't know which way you'd call that, but I wasn't gonna take it, and he's like, well, since they recommended it, why don't you take it to finance? So, the changes that we put into the personnel committees, they approved a compensation plan that goes over specifically, a little more detail, so I created that once we knew this. I took that from a couple other counties that have an admin coordinator. And so it goes over like what you do in the event of a demotion, what you do in the event of a promotion, what you do in the event of you need to hire an external person, and it talks about like, there's parameters set in there that you can only go up to this certain point to do these things, and above that, you'd have to get finances approval to hire above a certain wage. Mr. Meyer, you're on personnel, I don't know if I'm missing anything. You can, it's all in the personnel packet.
That's what I'm recalling.
Yeah, so in there, that would be affected based on that policy at June that you just had up is affected too, because of the chapter 4 of the handbook goes over, talks about some of the ad hoc interviewing committee. That's if you want to zoom in.
affects things, I just wanna make sure I know what it affects before I sign my name on it, is all. I'm probably not gonna have an issue with it, but, you know,
I understand.
if I don't have time to look at something, or I don't know what all it's affecting, cause if the ad hoc committee is there right now doing interviews, obviously there's a different procedure than if they're not doing interviews.
And that procedure simply is that the department head and HR would do the interviews and make the decision instead of the ad hoc interviewing committee making the decision. Otherwise, everything is going to stay the same from what an HR perspective. Because right now, the committee just makes the decision on, not even the top candidate, they make the decision on the candidates that they are okay with. And then the department head picks from that list the candidate that they're okay with moving forward. So now,
Now, in the, in there somewhere, that it's HR and a department head,
right there, the interview process. So we just crossed off that the human resource manager will coordinate with the committee chair and department head to select the interview panel members. So it'd be the HR manager and department head would reach a consensus and make the final selection for the position.
human resource manager, consensus.
And
So
before
then-
that was the ad hoc interviewing
So the
committee.
interview is up there for every function, so now it'll leave it to, cause this is the interview process, the human resources manager should coordinate the interview process.
And that's what I do now, that's why that's not
Yeah.
changed, yep. And then what is changing is instead of the ad hoc interviewing committee reaching consensus and making the final selection, HR and the department head will reach consensus and make the final selection. And the reason why I didn't add the appointed officials into this is because that's our ordinance, I didn't think it needed to be doubled up on talking about that. So our ordinance then would change to what you see of just being the only thing that we have the ad hoc interview committee for is for those appointed officials. And then,
Those changes will go to the county board at the same time.
yeah, and those will be in your packet.
Okay, I just don't like.
I already have it,
That's all.
and I think Connie already has those documents for the packet.
I'm good with that, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Pain.
No, you're fine.
Any other questions about it?
Since I did harass them also, make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Undershoots, is there a second?
The motion. I'll second then, it's a motion.
Seconded by Mr. Meyer, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Jamie, can you pull up chapter 8 of the financial procedures?
You know, we need more stuff up in front of this page.
So the next thing that I have on here is approved changes to the chapter 8 payroll of the financial procedures manual. The whole point of this is because it all goes into the ad hoc interviewing committee. So, I put this in a resolution too, but the only things that you guys are gonna see is those first couple sentences. So right now it says the ad hoc interviewing committee approves all the new hires. And in some cases, when the new hire is in an appointed position, the approval comes from the county board. So I struck that whole paragraph because we wouldn't have the ad hoc interview committee anymore. And, appointed positions, that's in our ordinance, is that appointed positions have to be appointed by the county board. And then in this next paragraph, Jamie, I struck all the sentences except for the last one, which says the finance, yeah. And the only reason for this being is that I think a lot of the things in the financial procedures manual were also made when finance was doing a lot of the HR functions, so this stuff is covered in our handbook, and it just gets confusing when we have it in two different spots. So I had struck kind of that HR stuff out, so the other sentence that is struck is the personnel committee approves and signs all payroll change notices. That, I believe before I even started, there was a motion that those, PCF forms didn't have to go to personnel anymore. So they are just being signed by department heads, myself, the employee, and then finance is the auditor and signs off on that. So I struck that, and then the all wage adjustments, including but not limited to hourly wage increases, increases in salaries, all of reclassifications go to oversight, personnel, finance, and county board. That's also talked about in our handbook already. So again, duplication things in two different spots. So that is why I brought forward these changes for that financial procedure manual. Then the rest of the chapter goes on to truly talk about what the finance department does in relations to finance. So nothing else is touched in the whole chapter. So that would relate to the ad hoc interview committee as well.
Any questions? No?
Tommy gave me candy, she's beating me up.
Basically, we're just changing language in the payroll on chapter.
And taking out what's HR, because HR would primarily follow the handbook. So this stuff is talked about in the handbook,
Right.
so just kind of cleaning up some of that language. So our financial procedure manual is truly, you know, like the finance and HR, it's talked about in the handbook.
Right, so what you're saying is we don't need to duplicate stuff in two different areas. We just clean it up. So, a motion to approve the changes in chapter 8 payroll.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Coggins, is there a second? I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
And this one will go to the full board too.
Okay.
The next up, I have approved extension of the interim facilities manager wage increase for training purposes. So we did hire a facilities manager. He will be starting on October 28th. I believe that is a Monday. So we went to personnel and they approved that, and so forwarding it on to here at finance, I am asking that we approve that, allow Shar as the interim facilities manager to stay in that position with the wage that she's getting, so we can properly train our new facilities manager. The facilities manager that we did hire, I feel in order to have a successful transition and to set our department heads up for success, it would be beneficial that Shar is able to continue some of that training and really focus on that too. And if she's performing some of those same duties, I believe it would be fair to continue that wage. So what the personnel committee did approve would be through the end of the year, so through 12/31 of 2024. It's hard to know exactly what the financial impact would be because there is different hours. So what I did is I took the past 5 pay periods where Shar has been the interim facilities manager and averaged those out to the 5 pay periods when she was not the interim facilities manager. And if we did it for 2 months, the financial impact would be about $5,000 for 2 months.
Any other questions?
I'll make the motion to approve that.
Motion by Mr. Meyer, is there a second?
To approve the wage
To
increase,
approve the wage.
increase for training purposes.
Approve the extension of the wage.
Extension of the wage increase for interim facilities manager.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Undershoots, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
And that will also go to the full board on Tuesday. And the last thing I have on mine is, a wage increase for 2025. So, I understand that we are currently experiencing a budget deficit and looking at budget cuts and elimination of positions. So you may ask yourself, why would we ever consider discussing a wage increase? And I actually asked myself that same question. Why would we do that at this time? There are many reasons that I believe, and that in my professional capacity as an HR, I need to push for on why our employees should still receive some sort of increase. I did talk to many other HR professionals in other counties to see, am I off base here? I know a lot of you guys are experiencing budget deficits. What are you doing with your board? How are you making your board understand? Are you guys not going for increases? What are you guys doing? And all of the other counties unanimously had said that their board is, they're still pushing for that and their board is committed to doing that. And so I just wanted to lay out a couple of the reasons before you guys can have that discussion. So One really important thing is we need to retain the key talent that we do have here at Rusk County. So we all are aware that turnover is expensive. So the cost of replacing new employees is expensive. Recruitment, onboarding, and training costs add up. Retaining our key talent through having competitive wages does end up saving money in the long run by avoiding those turnover costs. Another point is employee morale and productivity. So stagnant wages during a time, especially of the times that we're going through budget cuts, can harm that employee morale even more, which results in lower productivity and employee engagement. So trying to maintain competitive wages as much as we can, which reminder, we are pretty below market average right now, but that can help motivate employees to stay focused and contribute more. We also need to look at market competitiveness. So, I have been part of a survey specifically for this region. So for the northern region, I included also the western region because we're right on the border of the northern and western region for all of Wisconsin. The survey that I'm part of, there's 5 different sections that Wisconsin is broken up into. So the projected payroll budget increase in 2025 in the western region, so it's a survey you fill out where you say like, what is your board considering, how much has it been approved or not? Is 3.8%, and in the northern region is 3%, so about a 3.4% projected payroll budget increase. That would include people that are doing both a structure adjustment, so a cost of living adjustment, and then also a step increase. So with both of those, seeing about a 3.4% increase. The actual payroll budget increase for last year, so for this current year for 2024 that people did, the western region on average saw a 4.5% increase and the northern region saw a 4.3% increase. So as a reminder, we implemented our wage scale below average at that 25th to 50th percentile, and we did not move our structure since that implementation in 2023. So lagging behind continues to allow our competitors to take away our skilled staff, which weakens our county's ability to perform. Keeping wages aligned with market rates will also help to attract and retain good talent. We're also asking our current staff to take on more responsibility if position cuts are made. So remaining staff have to handle more responsibilities, and we need to ensure that they are compensated fairly for the increased workload so they can remain efficient. Showing employees that they are valued is very important. So employee morale continues to sink lower, and talk of board members not caring about employees continues to increase. Even a slight wage increase shows our employees that they are valued, and this also improves productivity and reduces the need for future cuts. And then lastly, essential services. So county government employees are critical to maintaining the essential services for the public. Competitive wages help to retain skilled workers who deliver essential public services, and a high turnover rate or inability to attract talent due to non-competitive wages can continue to affect those essential services that we can give to the public. So in the end, increasing wages is a necessary investment into our employees, and I hope that you would all consider a slight increase. So I strongly believe that typically each year we should be looking at a structure increase, which would be a cost of living increase, moving our scale, and then doing a step adjustment. Obviously, knowing where we're at with the budget, I'm not gonna sit up here and recommend that we do both that structure and that step increase, and we did do those steps in July. But what my recommendation is, and what personnel did approve to come to finance, would be a 2% structure increase. So that would be a 2% cost of living increase. Everybody who's on our wage scale would see that adjustment. Even if somebody is red circled, they would still receive that 2% increase because they're literally moving the whole scale. So that means
There would be a few that are actually off the scale.
I apologize. Okay, I didn't realize that. So they might not receive that unless the scale caught up with them.
Back onto the scale because we'd be shifting that
Okay,
scale.
sorry.
No.
Thank you for correcting me. So, yes, besides, is that one individual?
So I think there'd still be 3 that are up.
So besides that, as long as the scale would catch up to them, so somebody that's on that last step, so not off the scale, they would still receive it, then they would receive a 2%. The financial impact to this would be about, $150,000. Would be what a 2%, structure increase would be. Jamie do it.
Is that a hypothetical number or is that a solid number?
It's a solid number.
So like, it's not gonna come back and say, oops, we kinda screwed up and now it's like 200,000.
No, if anything, it'll be less if there's some of those wages that wouldn't hit levy. The levy impact.
I'm clarifying this because this seems to be a common, not just here, but in general. They say one thing and then it comes out to be another. Asking, is it a solid number?
I took the complete listing of the positions that we have that are on the wage scale, multiplied it by the difference in the pay rate, the number of hours that they're scheduled to work in 2025, along with the benefit.
Work comp, FICA, rest. And we did account, in that list, Jamie did put, all of our open positions, because this would move our scale up 2%. So our open positions, like step one, would increase by 2%. So the open positions that we do have, we put in there too, to show that.
Yeah, I guess the caveat would.
Positions, you calculated that the biggest insurance package on a family plan, right?
This wouldn't
Factor
matter.
insurance, cause that's a fixed cost. The FICA, the WRS, and the workers' comp are based on like gross wages. I guess the only thing that could be variable is that for those vacant positions, I just put a placeholder in there of step one on the wage scale when I calculated that increase. So if they start above a step one, that would change that dollar amount. If that makes sense. But I didn't want to assume that we were going to.
And if it did change, what would the estimated dollar amount be on that?
Depends on
Very
where
little.
you want me to put them at, yeah.
I mean, cause our steps are like 20 cents apart, 20 to 30 cents apart. So say I move somebody up to step 2 versus 1 that we started somebody at. I mean, you're talking, cause the open positions that we have are, lower level positions. So it would be about a 30, lower on the scale position. So it would be about a 30 cents. So you're looking at 30 cents times 20, 80 or 20. Yeah, I mean, so honestly, not trying to hide anything, it would be very, very minimal. Plus, is there positions in there if we ended up cutting positions? I mean,
What I'm hearing from your description here during your pitch here, it doesn't matter what we do. I mean, that was quite a wage increase we gave in July. And the morale's still down, so I think there's other underlying factors here when it comes to morale other than pay.
I completely agree, and I'm not at all saying that, but you don't keep up with annual increases and it's going to be.
But I don't like it when it's presented to us that, I mean, that morale's down, so we need to, I take it the way that was worded, that we need to give a raise. Cause morale's down.
Is that all we heard?
I think there's other issues. And that's, I guess, for you two over there to figure out. Because this has been going on since the morale thing and the complaints that festered to the top were before the wage study was done, before Carlson Dettman, that got done, 500,000 went out in wages to increase things. Then the weather wage increases that went out, insurances, the HSA got better. There's gotta be something else going on here.
Carlson Dettman that was the reason, all of employee morale, it's the wages, so, you know, and some people got pretty healthy raises out of that too. So I mean, there is more issues. At the same time, if that's not the main underlying issue, is it still the right thing though to do, is to give wage increase? That might not be the only reason for the employee morale thing, but, it can cause more employee morale problems in the end. That's what, I don't know.
When you do the 2% thing too, another way to look at it, is the people that are making 70, 80, whatever thousand a year, see a fairly decent increase in people making 40,000 a year. I mean, just because you're doing it on a percentage basis.
That's very typical, that's how increases are done, is by percentages. It's the most fair way across the board. I don't know, maybe some of you guys can speak up of increases you got. Every place I've ever worked, it's always been percentage.
Well, I agree, but if morale was an issue, I would say it would probably be in the people making under 60,000 a year more, but, because that makes up the majority of our workforce.
The other thing we could do, if anybody's interested in going down this path, is you could, certain counties have taken the wage scale and looked at certain positions that they feel, I don't wanna say deserve the increase, but that they feel, should be moved on this scale, and they've done that. Like, the social worker line should get a 2% COLA this year, and you can pick apart that way on which groups on our wage grid should receive.
That ain't gonna help your morale issue. Not in my eyes. I mean, you guys will get the back quote on that one.
Well, I agree, but that's almost what you're saying though, is, hey, isn't that almost what you just said though, like?
No, what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to try to fix morale through wages, I think you're gonna have to address it towards the majority of your workforce. Which, I don't know what that number is, but I would say, in most cases, probably people making less than 60,000 a year.
I feel like that conversation is more fit for the personnel committee. For the, as far as, you know, as far as benefits and the morale issues.
Really? Cause kind of what's at hand is what we do, don't do.
Oh, right.
We can't get off in the personnel side of the issues. Stay with what's at hand, you're not finding.
And that's kind of what I was getting at.
I'll just say.
Well, I'll just say what I've experienced in the past is, percentages are typical. I mean, I've experienced both, but the vast majority of times that my pay has been adjusted, it's been by a percentage. I've also been involved in the school when they had budget issues. Where I was employed, where they had budget issues, tough business environments. And during those times, I saw hourly people get a token raise, and I saw salaried personnel or administrative personnel have a wage freeze. So, as far as what we're talking and what we can do as a committee here, I think a 2% raise across the board. I mean, I personally would say the hourly staff, but that's a personnel thing, that's not us. But I think that
You could
would,
make that motion, couldn't you?
Yeah, that could be the recommendation from the finance committee to lower the fiscal impact, yeah, absolutely.
Do you want me to give you a number on that quick?
That's where if we took certain, you know, certain of those categories out, it should be easy to, it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
hard
I
to get that.
highlighted the salaried ones just a second.
30,000, right?
Well, it's only 300 in contingency, and that's where this is gonna have to come from, correct? Whatever we do.
Unless it's amended on the floor at county board to utilize more fund balance. I do think that when we implemented the wage study, the majority of the positions that were far below market were the salary type positions, just. That's where. So this is just going,
Yep.
kind of end up in that same.
No, I get it, I'm not trying to pick on.
Well, I don't like it coming out of contingency.
Just reduce it by 30,000, so that it only be 120, so 180. We did it with the, took out the salary part. This would reduce it by 30,000 on a contingency if we did it without the, salary positions.
This is Ashley.
Then you'd have 180 left to take it.
Okay, we're just finishing up county audience, so try to leave it unexpectedly. Okay,
Do
thank you.
150 with half.
I don't know what's right, but 30,000 could come quite handy by the end of the year, maybe 12 months on 170,000, 180,000.
I'm sorry, do you have any other questions for me? I have to run to another meeting.
Anybody else have any questions for Ashley? If not, she's got a split.
Once you leave them.
Okay, cute with that. Thank you guys.
Thanks. Ashley.
She has to.
We are in the
You gotta go
same
too,
meeting.
but are you coming back for the?
I will try to be back.
Okay. Alright, well,
If you guys want, I can, I have it set up that I can, if you wanted to change that percentage too, I can play around with. You guys, there was no motion, correct?
no.
Not yet.
If you wanna, say that again, Jamie?
If you want me to, I can,
She can calculate a different percentage.
yeah.
So if you want 1.5%.
Mhm.
I think you're pretty talking because of that. We don't have to decide this. I mean,
So just for information purposes, they're saying for 2024, inflation is 2.4%. So, I mean, so purchasing power is a 2% raise, you don't keep up.
what are you thinking over there, Terry? You're awfully quiet.
There is no good solution.
Well, you ain't no help then.
We already knew that.
Tell me something I don't know.
I mean, how many people are salaried versus how many people are hourly?
That's a good question.
and salary.
And then also appointed as well,
So
right?
there's 20, yes, but the elected ones can't be affected by this.
Right, that's built in per.
Right, so
board
they're getting their
decision.
increase regardless. So there's 20 salaried employees and then 125 hourly, some of which are part-time.
The other thing is if you do the non-salaried, it does incentivize, more department heads to say, okay, let's start cutting where we can cut, budget stuff, so we have more money when raises come around. And that way we're not looking to buy it.
Historically, how much contingency do we tap into?
It really
It
varies
varies.
from year to year, because
What's an average?
It-
If you had average, say the last 5 years.
I'd have to look at,
Another thing people are forgetting, what we did with the health insurance was more or less equal to a 2% raise. The
For the
raise in
people that-
HSA.
are covered by our health insurance.
That was pretty.
No, the estimated cost was around 150, was it not? Of increasing the HSA?
About $100,000 is what our total health insurance increase.
I know, we talked about that day when we did in personnel, I thought it was closer to 150 everything.
That's the hard part. If you survey people and then you ask them, would you rather have benefits or pay? They'll tell you benefits. But then when it comes time, they're like, well, I didn't see the raise.
Right.
So it
And see, from listening to some of the surveys we've done of employees, I thought, my mindset was, okay, if we can get something, we've been saying for 3 years, we're gonna try to do something better with this HSA, et cetera. And personally, I thought with the raise we gave last July, if we could find something to do with the HSA, I thought that would at least make some happy that we're moving in the right direction. Some maybe it wasn't a lot, but if they do use insurance here, it's right there, usable.
So last year we used, $316,984.49 out of contingency. However, we did have a surplus, but like the budgets that were under budget on their expenses that didn't require an amendment, we just let that flush through. So this was how much we had to transfer into the budgets that were over, if that makes sense.
So how much was that again?
Well, actually, sorry, I missed that. So that was what the finance committee transferred, but then county board transferred an additional $138,000, so it was $455,040.09. But then, there was others that we didn't transfer excess, like through contingency for, like, for example, the treasurer's office, the investment proceeds are in their budget, so we were $1 million over our expected, investment income in 2023. So that just went back into the general fund, so yeah, like, it seems like $455,000 is a lot to transfer out of contingency, but that's because there were other budgets that were, so this is just for the ones that were
just give a big fat raise, take it out of general fund, and then we don't have to worry because they won't wanna borrow us any money for a jail or a highway shop, and we can solve a lot of problems. We'll hit the nuclear button, what the hell? If it's gonna come out, I know I'm talking stupid, but it's getting really frustrating, I mean. We worked our butt off to get to where we are with this budget. We all took a lot of time off from work and everything else to come in here. And we made some really hard decisions that none of us, I don't think, are happy about in the long run. And now we're sitting here and we're gonna, if we're gonna give a raise, I get it. If I was working here, I'd like to have a raise too, I would. But I think if we're gonna do a raise, I think it's gotta come out of general fund. Cause these numbers Jamie just gave us for contingency, we're gonna be like, what's that one commercial where they spray that crap on the bottom of the boat and drill holes in it and see if it doesn't leak? You better buy a couple cases of it, cause that's what we're gonna need for the years over, I think. Flex seal, there we go. I think we're really flirting with fire to pull this out of contingency.
I don't like it.
I think it should come out of general fund if it's gonna do it.
$70,000 to go on, it's not even close to operate, considering the number you just gave us. Now, I get it, a lot of it has washed itself out over.
But at this point in time, we have no reason to believe that we're gonna be over on revenues and
Correct.
Hey, if we're not, and we come in under budget, then we got money to put back in the general fund next year.
Good point.
We can go back. But that doesn't fix the problem now. That's what it could have maybe. And if that's the case, we're gonna pull out of general fund, well, then cost of inflation is 2.4, then we'll do 2.4. But I think you could give 4.4, and I don't think it's gonna matter around here. That's just my personal opinion.
I don't think it'll solve the morale issues. Get us some great morale issues, by not doing it too. The morale issues aren't coming from wages, there's other issues that should be looked at personnel. The county board members aren't here on a day-to-day basis, us.
It's not our job to be here on a day-to-day basis.
I mean, I can come and be a morale liaison, but then I'd be told that, county board members shouldn't get too involved either, so.
We don't want to micromanage.
It's not our job to micromanage, in my eyes, it's our job to show up to committee meetings and make decisions on what's put in front of us.
I mean, that's our job, not here to micromanage. But I agree with Phil, we're gonna have to do something.
Well, Phil's right on, I'm sorry, but Phil is right on the morale issue. I mean, we know paid isn't the whole thing, but if morale's low and then no raise is given, that's just one more thing that makes it, it's just one more. It's like,
Okay, so, as long as we're talking about this,
I don't wanna get too deep into this.
bottom's leak.
I do not wanna sit here for 2 hours and talk about these wages, either up, down, sideways. This is a real simple question for us to talk through like we're doing
When
right
it
now.
comes to, Mr. Chair, when it comes to the wage scale, here's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
Is, when it comes to that, where does it seem like, of course, she's gone now, where does it seem like it's maybe the most out of whack? Is there a particular spot on the wage scale, cause, I'm sorry, Jamie, don't take this personal, I've heard all different opinions. And all we can go by is opinions of the people that come in here and run this that give us. So I hear from one that we're not paying the people down at start at 1 through 5 enough, and you made a comment today that and we are low on some of our department head positions because we've got 1 or 2 we can't fill because of it. So is it all across the board, or is there something we should focus on
No,
maybe more than others?
I'm not clarifying my point, that was just the ones that, there was a heavy amount of people that weren't even on the scale, and a lot of them, the ones that had those biggest increases that were 10 or even more, $10,000 a year more, were the salaried people that were so
they
far
got a
below the
10
scale.
So they got a $10,000 to $20,000 raise.
Well, it depends on how you want, well, yes, they did, but like, it's about how you wanna look at it as far as comparison to market. So my point was just that they were so far behind market to begin with, so that they had to get that giant increase just to get on the scale. So then if you don't increase those positions and you increase the other ones, that's just kind of how we got into this that situation to begin with. That was all I was trying to say.
It does have a point, where's the soft
So-
spot in that scale, because that does make sense.
And is there one? I don't.
So like at which grades are there a lot of people at the bottom of the scale? Is that kind of what you're?
I guess.
I don't know, I don't have it in front of me, but.
Where's the lowest part?
Say that again?
Where's the lowest part come from?
I got a question. If employee morale is low, and most of the salary employees, I don't see too many hourly employees in my committee meetings. So where are they getting all the bad morale from? I see department heads in here. And their job is to engage with employees and keep the morale up.
I think we have a handful of disgruntled that keep pushing the plunger button.
I'm probably off topic.
It's the personnel.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have, I thought about it after I said that. I shouldn't have. Sorry. Thanks for not yelling at me, John, but you were.
We got a real fine line.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, in my defense, he baited me.
I did. And then I called myself out after I baited you. Sorry.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
Let's separate you two.
So it almost sounds like after I made that comment and from the concept, it's across the board.
So, I mean, it is, and so that's why doing those steps mid-year kind of helped get
Kind of
get that congestion off the bottom.
So there's a lot of our congestion still. Or is
It's
it kind of smoothed out across the scale, so to speak?
It's kind of smoothed out, but it's kind of, there's quite a few vacant positions right now. Like I said, I put them in here at step 1.
How about this? If you can do this, I'm just curious.
Okay.
1.5% to salary employees, 3% hourly.
Okay, let me just, do a save as on this so I know. So how much the hourly is it?
3.
3 to hourly and 1.5 to salary, you said?
I'm just curious.
Probably be over 2.
No, you said 1.5 to hourly. Or salary.
3 hourly,
Just
1.5 to
salary,
salary.
okay. Alright. You guys talk amongst yourselves for a minute here.
You wanna bring up some more?
Talk about you.
Hey, you wanna bring up some more personnel issues, Phil?
No, I'm good.
What else can we talk about to get John wound up?
I'll stay in line.
My duct tape's off the truck. Warning.
Duct tape or flex seal?
Well, I'm sorry for throwing these ideas out there, but I think we're gonna have to think outside the box here a little bit. Maybe.
No, that's a good, that's a good actually question, because I'm curious.
I mean, we do this status quo all the time and it doesn't seem to.
So 2 was 120. So 3's gonna be 180. And then 2% of salary amounted to 30.
We're right around
So
2.
3/4 of 30 will be 22.5. $200,
Go to
$25,
$500.
$2025, yeah, that's what I'm
Brian's
thinking.
all in, it math makes sense. What's gonna throw you off is the benefits and FICA and all that stuff.
So, yeah, 206.
206.
Alright,
Pretty close.
you were close.
Oh, 6, you said?
And change, but then, you know, if there's position eliminations, then it would be less, so then it would go down, so. That's everything.
Not bad, I thought.
But I still think it's gotta come out of general fund.
So then
Which means fund balance.
yeah, so I think that would be, you guys would have to make, somebody would have to make a motion on the floor at county board in November for that, because it is not, you know, to make that change to the budget.
Why can't we do it in a motion right today?
Because the
When we
budget's
send it to
already
the
been
board.
approved.
The budget's already approved based on a 2% raise.
No, there was no
There's no
wage
raise.
increase in there, so the only way that you guys now could actually approve it today, correct me if I'm wrong, is if you approve it out of contingency, because you guys have the authority for that.
And that was what you said was out of contingency.
Oh,
You did,
so
you
we
did
can-
say that, so,
okay. I
So
see
then
what
you
you're
could,
saying.
but you could,
yeah.
then you could approve it out of contingency, or, and then at county board, make a motion to increase the contingency, which would then
Put it back
increase
in.
the fund balance that we're utilizing too.
There you go. You just put it back in.
So it's coming out of general fund, but.
Yeah.
One thing,
So-
I don't wanna muddy the water too much, there's one thing that still, it's in the back of my mind, where this contract's gonna end up. When it comes to, I hope, if that, I have a little concern there, if we're gonna be looking for dollars to fix that, and I have no clue at this point. But I hope it stays within what we have figured for budget.
You're not in a hurry to.
Well, we'll have to pay the piper eventually.
Yep.
Whatever that may be.
Well, the consensus here.
I agree with Terry.
What Terry said.
Terry said.
There's no good option.
Thanks for being so helpful, Bill.
What's your thoughts, Mr. Budwig?
I like your suggestion. 1.5 and 3. So the lower, basically the lower people get a little bit more. And the salary people still get something. And no matter which way you play the game, the shell game and everything, it's gonna come out of general fund. Either directly into contingency or shifting it around, so it still comes out of the general fund.
Well, if we do it here, we'd have to make a motion to pull it out of contingency, and then at the board level, we'd have to revert to back out of general fund, get back
So,
into.
I think that you make a motion here to approve it out of contingency, and then my recommendation would be at county board next month at the budget meeting, you would make a motion to increase the contingency to say $500,000 and take the difference out of fund balance. So we're talking like 200,000, or, I mean, whatever,
What's your
What does that take?
like a million.
It'd be,
950 or something?
no, it'd be like 1.1.
He's pretty good with his numbers.
We weren't at 750 last time.
was 6 something.
I don't know what that number is, it wasn't here.
So,
Based out of what we had when we left here.
805,796 would be $1 million if we increased it from 300,000 that we have in contingency to 500. Just rounding.
So it'd be $1 million.
And this other stuff we know that's gonna have to come out of contingency too.
Well, not for 2025.
Well, if some of the voltages on.
Oh, right, but we don't have those planned yet.
Right.
Let's get through 24.
Everybody's gonna stick to the budget.
And what,
There's gonna be no overages.
and is there any news on,
Answer, Phil.
on the, sheriff's department increases or what they're doing, their negotiations?
Not
No.
yet.
So that's gonna be more.
Okay, Jerry, you agreed with everything over there, are you, looking to make a motion to do something with this?
Since I get blamed for everything anyhow, I can make a motion to increase wages 1.5% for the salaried people and 3% for the hourly people for 2025
Out of contingency.
out of contingency.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Ludwig to approve the 1.5% for salary, the 3% for hourly out of contingency. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Coggins. All in favor, say aye.
Hold on, can we have more discussion? Maybe. Huh? You're right, you did.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do you want to say anything now after the fact?
I just have concern that if this ends up, it's too late now, but if this only can come out of contingency, then I guess the only other recourse, and the board decides not to allow us to put more in the general fund, then, agree.
But, yes. But.
I mean, that would be the worst case scenario.
You can only approve out of contingency as long as that department is still within 10% of their budgeted expenditures. Otherwise, it has to be a budget amendment and go to full county board anyway.
Okay, that's kind of what I was looking for, a little more clarification.
Now, we are.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
You're fine.
Good to have you back, by the way.
We're gonna move back up to, number 1.
Food wise.
Approve the transfer of the remaining food-wise funds to Rusk County Farmers Market.
So long ago, the community garden was ran out of extension, and extension actually had an entire budget designated to meeting funds, a variety of them. And then they got rid of a lot of them, and so it's like, well, what do we do with this money? The only thing we had left, because new money came in, was to put it in food wise, because community garden at that time was somewhat that was the best fit of where I could put the money. So now there's not much left, $188.10. So I'm asking to cut a check to the Rusk County Farmers Market, who operates the community garden, and eliminate this non-lapsing fund, because there is no use for it inside food wise. I know it's called food wise, it really should be called community garden, but it was just the best fit for where to put that Marshfield Clinic grant a couple years ago. And then bit by bit they've spent, but now the farmers market is in charge of the community garden, and anytime they want money, then it's just easier, because we're almost at the end, just to be done with it.
So is there a motion to cut a check of $188?
$188.10.
To the
Rusk County Farmers Market.
Rusk County Farmers Market. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ludwig, is there a second? Second by Mr. Undershoots, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Figured out Phil's limit, it's under $200.
So,
Everybody was waiting.
we do 7 and 8.
So in other words, we need to chop everything up into one side.
So,
I was still like fingering, there's no button there.
last meeting, we had talked about, was it last month's meeting, I think maybe? Sorry, we've had so many. Anyway, we talked about the ARPA projects, the IT ARPA projects, and the funding for the overages on those. So on Monday, Charmaine, Jim and I sat down and we went through each of those projects and we got journal entries done to move the overages that were in ARPA into, for the most part, it went into the IT operating budget. There was some that we found that was, like paying for like a 5-year maintenance agreement. So some of that is actually, those expenses will be spread out over the next 5 years rather than all hitting in 2024. So I did a quick look yesterday and, you know, within our budgets, we have our payroll and benefits section. When you know, on our budget pages, that's at the top, and then we have the other expenses. So historically, and I think it's right in our financial procedures manual, we can flex within our expense lines. So if you're over on one line but under on another, you're okay, but you can't do that with your wages. Like you can't say, oh, I've had this position vacant, so now I can go out and buy all this office equipment, or I didn't buy this office equipment, so now I can give everybody wage increases. So, looking at the IT operating budget and excluding the $50,000 that was budgeted for like capital that is going to carry forward in that continuing appropriations, the IT budget is about $26,000 over budget right now for everything that was posted as of yesterday for 2024. So there will be obviously some expenses for the rest of the year. You know, I'm sure Jim's gonna try to keep like the bigger expenses down, but there's ongoing monthly expenses for miscellaneous things. So I just put this on the agenda so that we could revisit it. You guys were kind of talking that you might wanna just wait and see how the year shakes out, but I just wanted to give you an update on that and where that's at right now. You guys have anything to add?
So that was including all the transfers,
Yes.
cause I noticed you entered them.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not 26 plus.
Right,
30.
so after all those entries were posted, it was like, when I took just the expenses that don't
Yep.
include wages and benefits and excluded that 50,000, it's like 26,000 over budget for what was posted as of yesterday.
So, I would recommend that you do not wait to throw the thin client money in there. You're supposed to come to your committee, oversight and say, hey, we're in issues, you know, and be more proactive, but you can definitely wait. But I believe some wanna take that money for other purposes. These are very, good projects that we have completed. So it just, when do you want the IT budget to look good, now or later? You know, so that's what the use of the thin client money would do.
Which is in that.
I agree to your point though, if we wanna be proactive, you know, you brought it forth. If we take care of the issue now, then, okay, an issue is brought forth and we take care of the issue, so.
So there's 36,000 in that account right now, so if just to throw this out, so if we give them the 26, that'll bring the money to the
Just to date, but I don't know, I mean,
October 17th.
Yeah, that's
and I don't know what, I don't know
That's
if there's
asking
stuff out there that
him-
hasn't been.
not to spend a penny for the rest of the year.
Which isn't realistic.
Just saying.
$5 a week.
It can be.
So it's just, you know, you can look at it, you know, eliminating just one more line, you know, drain it, don't, you know, be done.
I know what I'm thinking, and I'm trying to figure out how to put it in words without shaking my fist here. And-
So if you put the whole thing in, then it also opens up the option to just go spend it all too.
Well, we're not learning nothing, by the fact we went over in the first place, and now we're gonna fill the void and bail it out at 26,000, if we can get the whole 36,000, what does that teach you? Nothing. It's called work within your budget. I have a budget, everybody in this world has a budget. So am I like way off here, or where am I, I don't feel that's, the way to answer this question. If we bring it up to snuff, and then it's, give them the full 36,000 and it's all gone. That's just kind of the way it all works around here. We just throw it in another account and just burn it.
Is there anybody else that knows that a budget?
No, that's, well, Health and Human Services, Sheriff's Department. Jim, are you aware of expenses that we've incurred that we haven't posted yet?
Everything's up to date.
Okay, and then how much, what's the minimum that you need to maintain the existing for the rest of the year?
That I don't know. I didn't look that up. I was doing that other spreadsheet for Brian.
So, Chair, can I chat
Yes,
one more?
go ahead, sure.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and how I presented it in property, was that it is what it is, it happened, the bills had to get paid. Further, budget issues would be corrective action, so. But it's already been done, so it's just nice to move forward. I can see it as bailing it out, but we have worked very hard, cleaning this up, and, things are monitored much more closely.
And then I thank you for it. I understand what you're saying, Sherman. I'm just frustrated. But that's my opinion.
Are
There's
you
four.
recommending the full, all the divine money put in there?
Yes, because if it doesn't get spent, it's gonna go back. I just like to remove lines, here you have designated money for thin client that you're never going to do, so why keep it there? There's a need, I like to clean things up, I guess, so. And not
We appreciate
partially,
that about you. You like to get things cleaned up and done.
I like to move forward, once, deal with the issue and move forward.
Go ahead, Terry, I can see you.
But does this really deal with the issue that they're $26,000 over now? Is that really, you're covering it, but does that deal with the issue that what's to prevent it from happening again?
Corrective action.
Well, corrective action is moving money from here to cover it. That's not a,
Maybe my version of corrective action is different than yours.
that's.
I think one of the things that what you're wondering is how to make sure it doesn't happen in the future.
Right.
And that is just, we don't pay for other departments' equipment anymore. IT is always, I should say always, is typically bought a lot of things for other departments and never charge them for it. Hence, which is some of this stuff, which is that the spreadsheet that Brian had requested. And so that's one of the, I think, main things that Charmaine's really harped on me about is a lot of times we'll just buy stuff for whatever department needs it, and we'll absorb it, and not think too much about it. If it's IT related, electronics, whatever it would be like that, a lot of times, I feel like it's our duty to have it. Like if you come up to my office now and say, hey, this mouse took a poop, and you want another one, okay, well, do I give you a mouse that we would have there? Or do I order one, go through that paperwork, have your budget hit it then in that route? Or do I just have them on hand for you? Same thing with the batteries for them, People coming up all the time for the, batteries, this or that. Even maintenance comes over once in a while if they need batteries and they just don't wanna run days or anything like that. But one of Charmaine's biggest things is not to do that anymore. And we haven't, for a little while now. But that's something we typically did often. Regardless of what it was, whether it's laptops, whether it was computer, whatever it was, software, anything else. A lot of times you'll hear these other department heads say, hey, we didn't budget for that. All right, well, you still need it, so, all right, IT will absorb it. And so to answer your question, and I think John's as well, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? That's how. And if you go back and you look at my other budgets I've done throughout the years, there's no issue. So because of this 1 year, we just stop helping people now. Not stop helping people, that's a bad way to say it.
Stop ordering for.
Yeah, like even orders now,
You can even
like
send
I'm
them.
not ordering for companies now, I mean, some we do,
But the departments are doing their own thing now, like they should be. Instead
Correct,
of
he
the
was
IT
directed not to.
doing it all and absorbing it.
yes,
Correct.
yes, that is correct.
Okay,
Yes.
and that's
That's a recent change.
correct, and that's
Yes.
a lot of work between you and Charmaine, getting this all figured out and doing it, and hats off to the both of you getting it
Yes.
figured out. That's,
Yeah.
I've been waiting truthfully for you to actually say this.
Sometimes I just listen a lot.
I know you do, but I need to hear you say this, that, you're kind of like, you knew you were in hot water.
That change has been
This
made.
is what the change is, and this is how we're going to fix it. I don't like giving something to somebody and then they just run with it and didn't learn nothing from it. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I'm glad you finally said it. That's what I was waiting for.
Is there anything else I can say to make you guys happy?
Just don't do it again.
No, and like I said, if you look at my past record, we're pretty good that way.
Okay, so it's on the table of whether we do the 36,000 and just empty this out and be done with it.
I'll let them know.
Motion by Mr. Undershoots to move the 36,000 and change
Like remaining balance
the
of.
remaining balance of
Then
to
Brian.
IT.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Coggins. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, John. Thank you, Charmaine.
I know Brian just stepped out, but do you guys want any of that information or anything like that?
Can you send me what Ryan was talking about? Can you send that over to me, please?
Do you or the whole committee or?
Send it to all the committee. It'll probably give us a little more in depth of what we're looking at.
Sure.
Better understanding. Please. Okay. Should I just keep going down the list now?
Yes, I think that covered 8 too.
Or, Ashley, do you have to go anywhere yet after this? Or-
Charmaine and I will need to leave, yeah.
Can you go through anything of yours that's on here?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so update from personnel, they approved an increase in the intern wage due to that intern having the FAA .107 drone license. So they increased that wage. Normally we would start an intern at $12.50 an hour, but they increased up to $16 an hour. Also coming to the board on Tuesday will be an increase in the Trails End caretaker hours from 750 to 1,250 annually, and that's an approximate increase of $11,000. We had our wellness day in September. That was very well received. Approximately $1,300 of the $1,500 was spent on food and drinks, and then staff members got a Rusk County lunch bag to encourage them to bring in healthier options. And also the personnel is currently personnel committee negotiating with the WPPA. No update on any possible wage increase there. From joint management, HVAC and concrete work are moving forward at the library. HVAC work right now estimated at about $68,000, concrete work at about $28,000. Westlake will be
Oh, sorry, did someone interrupt me?
I choked.
Oh, okay.
Which building is that all?
The library? The HVAC and concrete work at the library?
Is this coming out of the mining fund?
No, it is not.
Oh,
The
alright.
concrete
But you
work,
can
The
do
we're
it.
still
concrete, there
figuring
was,
out.
concrete, there was 10,000 in their budget, the library budget.
Okay,
There was 10,000 that was donated from
friend.
Friends of the Library.
Yep, yep.
And then, the joint committee absorbed the other 8.
Okay. But where's that, we're still working on trying to figure that out, because what's the funding source for that other 8?
Short.
Like, there was no funding source outlined in that motion from joint management.
Other 8 was supposed to be from.
Yeah.
The amount from the HVAC, there was 15 that was already paid for the HVAC, which left a balance of 48. And then the 8 plus 48, cause we had 63 available.
So you're not gonna use everything that was out of that original 300,000? That's what I'm confused about, because I thought,
There's still some of that left?
that I didn't think so, and that's what I'm confused about.
Cause that's what the board approved was 300,000 for this project, correct? You remember, Phil?
There was, and so that's what I couldn't figure out where that money was coming from, because.
That's where I've been
That
getting
was already
confused
spent.
about this library project, cause we approved the I thought it was a $300,000 venture with the city. That's been going on for quite a while, if we're still in the same agreement.
Can we approve a wage increase for the county board chair? He doesn't even have a quarter. Everybody should have a quarter.
No, they need a quarter.
What do you need a quarter for? Why are we on point of order?
Well, that's my kind of exchange. Sorry,
Anyhow,
Sorry, I'm thirsty.
I'm getting off track, but I would like to next month to someone please look into this, where we're at on this agreement with this joint venture with the city and the 300,000 to remodel the library.
Yes, you did, yep. Okay.
We don't have to get into it now, but.
I don't know who the vice is, I think, oh, okay, do you mind if I continue with I have another meeting?
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay, and then we can circle back to the library.
So just go through your whole spiel.
Okay, Westlake will be providing janitorial services at the Enterprise Center. It will be 3 people for 1.5 hours a week at a rate of $45.44 an hour. So that's approximately $68.16 a week for cleaning up Enterprise. Liberty will be vacating their space at Fritz, which is being advertised right now at $3 a square foot plus prorated utilities. The city is proposing to fund an infill addition to connect the Forest Industrial Park, so that is 501 Dowdy Road and 1402 Jez Road. And I believe that topic is coming to the county board on Tuesday as well. The committee moves to put all of the Gates Avenue tenants to $3 a square foot plus utilities effective on January 1st of 25. And coming to the county board Tuesday night as well is that the committee referred moving the maintenance oversight only of the visitor center, library, and animal shelter to their respective committees and boards. That will also need to go to the city council. On the hospital, the proposals for the vacant land are due back on November 1st. Over at Lake Avenue, no bids have been received to date on the vacant parcel. Oakleaf continues to be current with their rent. An update from the ad hoc committee that met yesterday. They have forwarded an option to the county board next Tuesday with a cost estimate of $33.5 million. The committee also recommends doing a highway project at the same time, so one larger borrowing is done at once. Initial estimates of a storage facility at the highway shop with a wash bay is approximately $7 to $8 million. So we would be looking at a total bonding of anywhere from 40, 41, 42 million, depending on where those final numbers come out.
That's still cheaper than the whole deal put together last year. Just saying. Any questions for the administrator?
Which, maintenance are changing to their committees for joint management buildings? It was the library, the tourist center, what was the other one?
The animal shelter.
Okay, thank you.
And so the resolution that's coming before the board is that we as a county need to amend then 4 of our ordinances. So it's just to take out that oversight from joint management and reassign it to each of the other boards. So it's a longer.
Maybe less complicated.
Yeah, so it kinda, that's what they were thinking, Brian, if you wanna speak, that kinda cut some of the red tape there.
Oh, it seemed like every joint management committee meeting I come to, something comes up, it was brought up at the library board or animal shelter, whatever, and then it comes there, and then it goes back, and then it comes back, it's clunky.
Yep.
Just to make it nice, it's clunky. And I think it cleans it up. We've got city and county appointees on all of those committees. They can, if anything needs to go for board action, it can go there. None of the agreements, in those agreements, none of them say that the joint management committee has oversight. The only mention of the joint management committee is on the tourism and the library, and it says during budget times, budgets can go to the joint management committee or the finance committee, and to me, that's just stupid, because even if it went to joint management, it's still gotta come to finance. So, I mean, we're going in circles.
Sounds like you're almost hinting that we should abolish the joint management committee.
That would make my committee load a lot easier.
Give me your butt. Don't throw your butt.
I feel like I've been saying yes on everything, but I feel like I should have a yes button.
You need an easy button.
Anything else, Miss Ashley?
Nope, that's all.
Okay,
Thank
you
you.
are free to go.
Thank you.
Run.
Yes, I'm gonna barely make it.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Thank you.
Jim, are we gonna sing though?
Well, it's not today, so it was Tuesday.
We can still sing though.
Over what?
You just out there.
You do what?
Sing happy birthday to Brian.
You start.
I'll let you start.
I'll join with it.
What are you doing?
Let's sing Brian happy birthday. Let's start.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brian. Happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you very much.
Now we're in trouble. That wasn't on the agenda.
Oh my goodness.
Go back up to number 10.
He hasn't returned my email as far as I know.
Okay,
I did get an email out to him.
Okay, great. Let me know if you need anything else.
Yes, number 9.
You tried to skip that one.
Resolution to change county board mileage reimbursement rate. Now, this was brought up at the last meeting when I was sitting over yonder next to Mr. Undershoots, and I was on board with Mr. Undershoots all the way until, now that I've kind of thought about this a little bit, I'm not quite sure how I wanna go with this. You know, the reason I say this is, it's 64 miles for me round trip. $40 doesn't even cost it's your guys' fault, but I'm struggling a little bit. Convince me otherwise.
You need an
What's the,
electric vehicle.
how much are we taking out of general fund, Jamie? $1 million? John, we're taking $1 million out of the general fund.
And when I
We're
get,
trying to balance the budget.
and when I fuel up, it's $160 a crack. All you gas burners don't come close to that.
You get better mileage with it.
Buy an e-bike.
Now, here's my other argument. Yes, I am the county chairman, I get that. And I get my whatever a month for that.
But there's other people that drive far too.
But I also make as many as one, if not two trips sometimes in a day into this building, after I've already been back home. And sometimes I'm in here once a day, all week long. That's at my own, that's at
You're
my
not
own
getting
cost.
paid at all.
Correct, that is at my own cost. So I'm just saying, I kinda rethought.
You ever heard of
my-
email? Heard of email?
Zoom, what
But I
about
can't,
Zoom?
but I can't sign a lot of papers over email either.
There's not many people that get
DocuSign.
that every
DocuSign.
single day.
DocuSign works in occasions, but some of them will not take DocuSign, they want the hard copy signatures. I already asked that, I'm not that far out of technology.
I'm pretty pressed right now.
Trust me, they do accommodate very well here, I'm just throwing it out there. But I'll do whatever.
I see your point. So for me, it's easier to speak because I have a long drive.
Correct.
So I can't judge from your situation being my situation, because it is a lot less. And most of the time, I'm working a block away, or if something comes up, I mean, I don't even put down mileage for 3/4 of my meetings, because I'm a block away already anyways.
And I can honestly tell you, so there's a lot of things I don't claim either.
So for me, I'm just saying, I'm not, you're putting a lot more into it to get here than me. I'm already.
And I think I'll speak
And
for
you might be,
Biller lives quite a ways
Yeah,
out.
there's other equipment.
And, you
Your
know,
baby doesn't even turn in his payroll.
well,
Ooh.
so I'm
gotcha
less
that one.
affected by that. And, so I can understand where you're coming from.
that's all I really had to say. I just wanted to speak my piece after rethinking. Otherwise, I was on board with you all the way to think on this. But it's up to 4 other individuals here too, so.
I was for just increasing committee per diem, but we can't do that, we gotta vote on for the next board, which is kinda like giving your predecessor, or the next person, a pay cut while you accept that, so that doesn't really work. So I was just trying to hit the county board with,
And can we
But-
change the mileage without that having to go through the board, like the per meeting pay?
it is true
The
that
per
I'm.
meeting pay you can't change during a term,
Right, but how does the mileage doesn't matter?
right, cause that's reimbursement.
So the board pay can't be changed for 2 years?
Richard reviewed this resolution. Sorry, what?
So the board pay can't be changed for 2 years?
No.
No, cause we're already.
Right, I
in
mean,
after.
board
And-
members can choose to not take their pay individually, but it can't be like a standardized.
But this doesn't have to go in front of the board.
If you decide to do something, yes, it is a resolution, so it would have to go to the board. Yeah, I think,
Yeah, I think that's.
yeah, it would save, my calculation, I just did it based off of like the complete mileage from 2023, so it's like $2,400.
For everybody?
Total, yeah.
I have nothing to say.
Okay, let's move on.
What do you wanna do here, Phil?
I just, well, cause I'm less affected by it than you, I have a harder time You're the
Just
one,
don't write it down.
you're most affected by
Just
it,
don't write it down.
right?
That's,
Well, I don't.
I mean, that's the way you can solve that problem.
Yeah.
And I
But
think a lot of
you
people
say-
pick and choose.
You say that and then,
Yeah, I helped last week, I sat in both those meetings on Thursday, I just wrote down one. I had slash personnel,
so which budget is it on?
Okay.
What if it's lit?
that's her problem,
Alright, are we good with moving on?
I did my good work.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, nobody's getting rich coming here either, and I don't want somebody to take a loss either.
I don't wanna feel like I'm the only one crying at the table here, I'm just throwing.
I don't
that
think
out.
you would be though.
It hardly affects
I
me.
mean, there's members of the board that drive quite a way.
Right.
I'm not one of them,
Well,
but-
Alec is right there up north of me, maybe,
He's pushing the county line up on the north side.
yeah. I mean, I'm sitting a mile off in Bear Line.
Yeah, no, it's easy for me, cause it would be easy for me, cause it doesn't affect me, because I only write down one out of 4 committee meetings for some mileage anyways, or generally the county board one, I run right.
Well, I don't want you to feel like I'm backpedaling, because that's not what I'm trying to do.
No, but
I had backed you all the way on this one right away, I just feel after I get my numbers and my train of thoughts, that's like, come on.
no,
So we're just,
no button today though, either.
we're just gonna leave it alone then? Okay. We don't have to do anything. Alright, moving on. Approval of the invoices. Yeah, everybody had a chance to look at the invoices.
I started.
So what's inmate medical debt? I highlighted what I had questions.
Inmate medical one?
Yeah,
Inmate medical.
So who's the vendor that we paid it to?
it was under Chippewa County.
Oh, okay. So I'm guessing that was something we had to pay for inmate medical for one of our inmates that's housed there.
Okay, so, alright.
Because yeah, when we pay for out of county housing, that does not include medical, so we are still paying $110,000 a year for our medical contract for the inmates that are housed here, but then we have to pay for the medical when they're.
So, Rochester Public Utilities, Family First Utilities, $817, that was through Health and Human Services. But why would we be paying for utilities over there?
Is me, what's the account number?
38194100850. And that's the invoice
That's
number.
fine, I can look it up that way.
Sorry.
So 3891.
410850.
Sorry, 38919.
3819410850.
So I remember looking at that one too, when I set up that vendor. So it's children and family support, so, family first. So I can find out more information if you'd like, but my guess is that, it's to support a child through Health and Human Services, so it got coded, it says family first is it's written on there, but it's to children and family support, so it might be, it could be like, one of our kids that's placed out of home is living here and needed these bills paid so that they can, sometimes they provide more than just the monthly stipend for that child support, but I can, do you want me to email Jeremy on that and find out more.
If you don't mind.
Yep.
That's
I'll just
what's
send you a
in
follow-up email on that. Yeah, and that, Health and Human Services invoices are paid without your guys' approval. So it won't hold up that bill being paid by any means.
So then, this is also under Health and Human Services, looks like, or some of it is. So we've got 5 different Starlink subscriptions. So where are they at?
That we're paying through Health and Human, it's a 250 account?
Well, there's
It could be
it's
multiple.
120 apiece.
Okay.
That's a month, that's what I pay at home. But there's one HHS prepared insurance claims, it says.
Oh.
IT support, HHS prepared insurance claims a second time. IT support a second time, and then it says animal shelter telephone.
Okay, so I'm aware of. I think they put Starlink down at the senior center,
Yeah, we did.
and so there was that preparedness grant through HHS that paid to get that installed, and then they were going to pay for like the first year or 6 months or something of the service, so they paid for the installation.
The first year.
Okay, and then the animal shelter has Starlink out there.
Yep.
And there's backup internet on this building with Starlink too.
Okay.
So there might have been multiple months entered in at the same time, and that's why you're seeing some of them duplicated, and so I'm just gonna
Oh,
pull that.
wait a minute, yep.
Okay.
8/20/25, I didn't notice that Starlink subscription.
Okay.
9/24, 8/24, so that'd be, yep. Okay.
This might seem kinda petty, but my God, we buy a lot of client wipes through HHS. I've never seen this many on here before. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9. It just seems like there's a lot. No, like $20. It's almost
And that's all reversed, like none of that is levied.
Can you tell me what vehicle, Highway bought a truck bed? I don't think it's what they approved, but Big Sky truck beds, 0905 to, use the date, 0905/2024. Highway equipment, INS Rico.
Oh, insurance recovery.
Was there an accident to a vehicle?
That might have been. Should be. Number 11, let me just see. Just a sec.
specifically says?
I'm trying to remember.
I'd have to go back to January to look.
Yeah, it happened on January 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
But if I was to tell you one way or another, I'd be lying, unless I looked, I can't remember.
Well, it can wait for highway on Monday.
So, delinquent utilities, is that just something that have been put on the taxes and then we have to reimburse the municipalities for those things?
Yes, so we don't settle for the delinquent utilities, so if an individual comes in and pays their delinquent taxes,
Yep.
and we are able to collect on delinquent utilities, at that point is when we take that and turn it over to the municipality that had those
Okay.
utility charges.
Thought it was something like that. That's all I had.
Lad Lake, it's a September 23 foster care.
It's probably just a typo.
Is it 24?
Let me look at the invoices to make sure. I think the girls had even said, oh, you know what, I didn't catch that one. But yes, I can confirm that it is 24, looking at the invoice itself.
see these two tractor tires on here for guys that repair? Under G, guys that repair.
We're down.
Oh, I don't know what
How much is it? How much is it?
$6,100 is just for two tires.
Where'd you buy them?
He lives right over here in Bruce. The guys that repair those tractor tires.
Okay, so.
I'm not saying he
hold
did
on.
anything wrong, but
It was 2 tires, but then there was also 270 liquid ballast.
oh, they put fluid in them.
Supplies.
Oh, that was expensive.
Yeah.
Fluid labor and,
We missed the fluid. That gets real expensive.
Yeah, you see that, never even questioned it, right?
But you'd have thought the tires would have had fluid in them already.
You had to let the summer fluid out, but whatever.
Nice try, but there's no such thing.
Yeah, kinda like let the summer out, let the fall here, and you can do this 4 times a year if you want.
Unless they had a tire blow or something.
lost all the fluid.
Is anything possible in your mowing crap?
No, for the most part. Not all of it, it's not like, we get a set amount and some of it's used for that, some of it's used for, but like foster care is a lot cheaper than those other placements. Kinship is cheaper than foster care because they're placed with a family member, so the stipend is less.
For what?
Four hydraulic hose fittings, $604.
Where you at? Where's it from?
It must have been big fittings.
Smith Auto,
What?
Lady Smith Auto. There's this four hydraulic hose fittings for $604. He agreed, but it must be up to goddamn rate. So I just bought 75 feet of hose and all 4 new fittings.
4 of them, that's $150.
Okay, so.
Napa, here it is.
Okay, it's a conveyor.
Must have been like 2-inch fittings or something.
Yeah.
That's why I don't order, I like to get the overview. It's just a conveyor.
Well,
Could be on the crusher.
Which one?
let me see where it gets, the insurance gets charged to, and then I can tell you if it's much up.
Gary, you still looking through? Bill? You still looking through the bill? Yep.
I'm good.
I'm fine.
We have made a,
Yeah. Yeah, they're coming.
Oh.
Any motion to approve the bills?
motion.
Motion by Mr. Undershoots. Second by Mr. Coggan to approve the bills. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Bills are paid. Out of county travel.
So I have one here, I also emailed out to you guys, the winter WGFOA conference in Middleton.
Motion to approve the out of county trap. What is this conference? I should
Wisconsin
probably ask
Government
you that.
Finance Officers Association, I attached the agenda too. So they do a few conferences a year where they, provide updates on legislature standard. This particular one has a breakout session related to highway.
Madison.
Well, Middleton is a suburb of Madison.
I've been trying to figure out, to send you a time to attend. Lodging parts will cheaper.
My sister-in-law does live there, but they've got.
Is there a motion to approve the out of county travel?
Yeah.
Motion by Mr. Undershoots. Is there a second? All second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries for out of county travel. Just trying to send you over there a couple things before we reach the town. Alright, so. 12, treasurer's report.
So, I had emailed that out yesterday, I believe.
Yep, she did.
Yeah. I did see.
So the current rates are about percent less than what they were before.
I can take it back to those for you if you want. Or the going on.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll shave another quarter off before the end of the year. Gotta make it right.
Flip it over.
Yeah, and if there's anything that you guys think you want to get from Burma, she's only got a couple more months left before retirement, so.
She's gone. Leaving us.
It's already filled.
Initials there for sure. Alright, so that was the treasurer's report. Clerk's report.
Open records software is going well.
Didn't hear a word you said.
The open records software is going well.
Why are you talking so soft?
So is that gonna be the echo?
The marriage license have slowed down. I would think they have a little bit more. We ordered ballots for the, November 5th election at 120%. So that'll take care of like their pre-lap public test, and typically we have quite a few people that come and vote for the November election, the general election. Monday I was in Bruce, teaching the seniors, about voting in Wisconsin, in Rusk County. October 23rd, I have 2 trainings. I have one at 9 and one at 1 o'clock for municipal clerks and chief election inspectors. The dog license I ready for 2025 for the, treasurers, and the 2024, are in the middle of, fines are getting sent out by the animal shelter manager. So keeping up with the website, posting all the agendas and minutes. intention is to start charging for, notary, and I'm looking into doing passports in my office. So it'll help generate some income. Any questions?
So like if you do passports, whatever you charge, some of that has to be forwarded to the federal government, right?
Yeah, but most county clerks look at that as a moneymaker.
How do you let the public know that that service is provided here? You just
On our
put it on your website?
Yeah, and I'm really not sure how else we would do that, but.
Maybe put a statement in the tax, just a thing in this tax statements that go out to everybody, maybe. Everybody sees them. I mean,
How would I do that for the?
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure how to do.
I don't know if that's possible either.
The tax bills that's like generated through the treasurer's office.
Oh, yeah.
That's a totally different.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, the townships,
yeah, the townships put them in the envelopes and.
cause the townships have put stuff in.
So we typically
before.
get the letter together for the townships because dog license have to increase. So we get that all ready for them. And they, it's the same thing throughout the whole county then.
Oh, sure.
So with the license and data they need to turn into us, so.
A lot of county travel.
None, staying right here with you, John.
I think we're gonna buy e-bikes. Everybody's gonna buy e-bikes.
Okay.
Especially people that are, I know, I'm a average driver.
They did open that door, didn't
You
they?
kinda did. Kinda did.
There's a lot of phone calls for elections right now. A lot.
Alright, is that it out of the county clerk? Scott?
Yeah.
Finance director?
Yes, I sent you guys the sales tax report. I did not have, an update to the back taxes report, cause I wasn't able to get the, report that I need to do it yet, and I just have been too busy working on budgets to touch base with the treasurer's office, because I know Michelle's been wanting my help to get, some stuff balanced in there, so I think that that's just been the problem, is that I haven't had time to work on that with her yet. But I will have that next month for you guys. Been working like crazy since the last finance meeting to get the budget ready. So that will be the, public hearing notice will be out in the paper next week. We will have our budget hearing on the 12th of November. And yeah, trying to catch up on other things now that I kind of got that part done. If you guys haven't already, I encourage you to stop into our office and meet Tanya and Kristen. Tanya's the assistant finance director. She started a couple months ago, and Kristen is our finance accountant one. They're both doing great. I would have brought them in here to meet you, but that would have been a little intimidating for them. Please just stop in and
We can have Joan at the end meeting.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
So other
So
than
what
that,
about the
been working through insurance renewals as well. And trying to start getting things ready, for next year already, so.
For the board meeting in November on the 12th, is that a morning meeting?
Yes, it's at 9 AM, and we do have 3 days on the calendar for the budget process.
They're all morning.
Yes, they're all daytime meetings. I think that just because of that we probably would need to get agendas out for at least the first 2 days. Because obviously we won't be able to post an agenda with less than 24 hours notice, so I think we'll maybe post for 2 days, and then if we don't end up meeting that second day, we can cancel that meeting. But,
So is it the 12th, 13th, or 14th?
yeah, 12th, 13th, and 14th.
When, if you do go on the 13th, what time?
It'd be 9 AM.
They're all till 9 AM.
Well, we have emergency management at 8.
No, that might have to change.
That might have to change, because these were already actually booked before that.
It's in like the book, the county board book.
County board book, these were already planned.
It's not the Bible.
Yes, it is.
Connie just makes it up.
No. Oh my gosh. That's it, Terry.
Is the ambulance thing with that company squared?
No, Rich is still working with them on that. I haven't gotten an update in a while.
Yes, that too, where is that
It's with Rich.
So what's,
I thought he was gonna start the old stuff. I mean, this been dragging on for how long? Over a year,
Yeah.
2 years?
Yeah, so-
Jamie, did you have all the resolutions?
There we
Yeah, they're right
go.
here.
Okay, even the ones for.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Jimmy, got that
Back.
note folder?
when I first started here at 18, we were doing our ambulance billing in-house. And we were struggling to stay in compliance because with Medicare billing, you need things that we weren't really right. So we put out an RFP for ambulance billing services, and then in January, I wanna say of 2019, it could have been 2020, we started outsourcing our ambulance billing. And so this Expert T Billing was the name of the company at the time. They had their own billing software, so anything that they started billing was in their new software, but we turned over them our own billing software. They took a whole module off our server onto theirs that contains all of our patient data, billing records, etc. They were updating that for a while, posting payments in, started becoming harder and harder to get reports from them after the first year. They really weren't providing us any reports out of that old software anymore. Then the reports started kind of getting worse with their new software. So we bid out ambulance billing services again in 22. So then in August of 22, we switched to LifeQuest, who's now our ambulance service provider. We have not been able to get our data back from this old company. So we've had a lot of issues with them, posting payments to patient accounts that we can't tie up, that we ever received a payment. We receive payments, we can't get them to post it to patient accounts. Now we're really not getting much of any communication from them. Stillwater. So,
are
after,
they still a going concern?
yeah, so Rich has been instructed to proceed with litigation to get our records back, but I'm not sure what the status of that currently is.
We should have written on the next agenda for update on that.
We put on county board too. He's always at the county board meetings.
Next month,
Eventually,
next one is
so next month.
well,
And I could ask him too if he'd rather come here and give a status update, or if he'd rather.
you wanna come here first and then go to board?
I don't care, I just hope he doesn't like actually actively working on it.
Well, I guess that's
Oh, I sent him a
Okay,
letter.
so let's just bring him here first
Fine with me.
and see where it goes from there, and then we can go to the county board after that.
So, yeah, and actually, next month, our finance committee meeting is gonna be after the county board, so the county board meeting is earlier with them. Well, I have it as a third Thursday, but technically, the county board meeting is on the second Tuesday, so.
So if we
Okay.
don't have a third day of county board, then we've got.
The 21st,
That's our finance meeting?
that would,
21st of November. Oh, that's hunting season.
no, isn't that the week before?
Well, county board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no,
County
or-
board is
no.
12, 13, 14.
The finance would be moved before, cause I think Thanksgiving is the 28th.
Right.
So finance would be
The 21st.
after the county board meeting.
Yes.
At 3,
Yes.
That's what I said. So there's a county board meeting on the 21st?
No,
no, 12.
Yeah, but I thought he said after the 21st.
They always put on the agenda, review
Finance.
and future committees.
Yeah, that's already scheduled on the
Just, yeah,
21st.
Right, it's a county board action.
Just
When
like
it's
said,
12.
it was used on a bridge that was repaired by the state.
Yeah, county board's on the 12th. So what's that gotta do with the 21st?
Projects.
I hate to ask again, but which bridge?
He sent me a picture. It's, well,
It's both, I understand that, but I mean, which bridge? That's a lot.
what is it?
These, road barriers.
Oh, the-
They're gone for free.
The
They're gonna hold one for free.
the 21st, of November, good with everybody? 21st,
Of November.
yep.
Not all day.
3 p.m. again?
Yep, 3 p.m. That was, do you guys, Brian?
I'll make it.
I just.
At 3 o'clock.
Make sure.
Joey Anderson's gonna have to be rescheduled in November too, because this would be the 28th, which is Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Not covered.
They have nothing better to do than spend their way out. Sorry,
I can take it. Skin's getting thicker and thicker.
So you're also, next month, we're gonna try to get some type of report where we're at with the library in the city. Library. I thought we signed some type of agreement years ago.
Oh, for that 300,000.
For the 300,000, I'd like to know where we're at on that, or are we just
Well,
going
that's why
above and beyond that?
That money, that concrete is not in that money, so I don't know.
The HVAC was, but I thought all these projects were gonna be done like 2-3 years ago.
Is that the one with the old church and,
Yeah, the church got involved in it so they could use some grant money that they had to offset, and it's just muddied the water was all it did. So,
Kinda going backwards, there's that road.
where's that next month?
You want on next month?
Oh, please,
Well, update on library capital project.
that's what I'm asking for.
Yes, we put it on for next month.
It's your
We
meeting.
need to discuss it, because we're already
Grab one
I thought we were done.
over here. Well, that was what we wanted to look at.
I'll move. No, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Meyer,
Discussion.
is there a second?
You want discussion?
Yeah.
Kind of has a resolution, is that what you're thinking?
I'll second. All in favor to adjourn?
can we discuss it?
Opposed, same sign, we're adjourned. Man, you guys are a tough crowd today.
That'd be the shortest finance meeting.
In a while.
Four
Yeah,
years.
next month we're gonna start working on the 2026 budget, so that.
Well, that was the
Gosh.
plan.
We probably should.
Gotcha.
I know you say that jokingly, but